This is Hops and Spirits Bar Conversations. Come for the craft beer, bourbon, whiskey, and great drinks. Stay for the conversations. Here's your host, Jonathan Green.
Welcome in. We're closing out 2021 with another fun episode. We got a lot going on in this one. We talk beer trends of 2021 and what to look forward to in 2022 with Kevin Patterson. Always a great chat with him as he provides a lot of insights. And in our conversation is with the Nashvillains, three guys that do a lot of writing for various projects from TV to film and for artists that you've come to know and love in country music and beyond. But now they've come together to form the Nashvillains, and they got their debut album coming out soon. It's a really fun chat. You don't want to miss that. And also check out our social media as we have our year-end videos featuring some of our top pours for beers and whiskeys, bourbons, and so much more. You can find all of that at hopspirits.com and find us on social media at hopspirits. Enjoy the show.
It's almost time. Where did I put those? Here they are. It's time for tasting notes.
Joining us again for another Tasting Notes is Kevin Patterson, the Cicerone National Beer Judge. He's also the manager of the Beer Trap Craft Beer Store in Lexington, Kentucky. Kevin, welcome back. Glad to have you as always.
Well, thanks again, Jonathan. I'm happy to be here.
Now, before we were talking about winter ales, kind of what people can expect once, the calendar flips and you get out of the holiday season, but also when the calendar flips, that means we're in a new year. You work in the industry. So I figured this time around, we look back at 2021, look ahead to 2022. Obviously, the pandemic has kind of either moved things way forward in terms of what some people were expecting and slowed other trends down, or just completely thrown everything for a loop. But what did you see in 2021 that kind of caught your eye, or maybe surprised you, or something on those lines?
Well, coming out of the early parts of the pandemic, we saw a lot of people flocking to those more comfortable beers, the beers you can buy a six-pack of, something that was a little bit more modern alcohol, something not as strong, but something definitely more drinkable, more quaffable, more refreshing. And so we've seen that kind of continue on a little bit. One thing I've been really happy to see is in 2021, not every beer has to be imperial, especially if it's a darker beer. It can be a 5% stout. It can be a brown ale. It can be a reasonable porter. Not all beers have to be aged in bourbon barrels, kerosene barrels, kumquats, razor blades. We don't have to throw all that stuff in beer to make a wonderful beer. And so I think that a lot of brewers have been really happy about, their customer base maybe wanting something that's a little less extreme or a little less intense. There for a while, I was a little bit concerned that maybe beers are going extreme whenever it comes to just one dominant flavor. In other words, it's got to be very sweet or very roasty or very bitter or very sour. And that was really leading to like these really intense beers that you could only have like a portion of one, or maybe even have one, and you didn't want to go back to the other ones. But this year's really seen a little bit more of a somber trend of people wanting a little bit more of a sensible alcohol, a sensible gravity beer, but still something with a lot of flavor, a lot of drinkability, a lot of pleasure.
Well, and I know one time we talked, some other trends where folks were either rediscovering brands that they had forgotten about per se, or maybe branching out a little further into some imports. Are you still seeing that, or is it kind of come back to the craft beer that you kind of everyone expected, where people like to try different things, or they hear good things and they want to go down that route?
I think it's been a good split, because I think we have held on to some of those trends that were set a year and a half ago, getting into 2 years ago. But we have come back around a little bit more. I think now they realize craft beer didn't stop. The brewers still had to work. They still wanted to go to work. They still wanted to make beer. They still wanted to please folks. And they did keep making beer. But I think now brewers have kind of said, okay, maybe we don't need to just focus on flagships as much as we did a year ago. Maybe we can start being a little bit more experimental. And I think customers are relating to that as well. So they're striking a happy medium between holding on to one of those really time-honored classics. Maybe it's a beer that got you in a craft beer. Maybe it's a European brand that's been around for 100 years. But they're also, doing some of the newer stuff too. Hey, what's that new beer with the kumquats and razor blades? Maybe I just want to try it after all.
Well, and moving into 2022, it's always interesting to see what's kind of going to be next. Obviously, for a lot of breweries, they've got into canning, they got into distribution more so than they ever imagined with the pandemic, but that has also caused other issues. and will continue to cause issues with shortages in certain areas. So what are you seeing for 2022? What can folks maybe expect to see?
Well, I'm hoping more of the same. One thing I enjoy having is 8,000 breweries in America. One thing I don't like seeing in America is a really small, limited, section of flavors. So I hope we do see a little bit more balance, a little bit more sense of moderacy whenever it comes to beers in that 5 to 7% range. However, there's some popular trends that show no signs of slowing down. The hazies are still going to dominate. The sours are still growing. They're still coming on. And I think they're starting to become a little bit more, independent of season. Just because it's cool outside doesn't mean that IPAs stop. It doesn't mean the sours stop. And we're going to roll into eventually warmer weather in the spring and summer. And I still expect to see some pastry stouts out there. So I think people have realized that air conditioning works, that when you step into in a closed environment, the place probably has an air conditioner. It's probably going to be somewhere between 68 and 72 degrees. Heat still works. Even though it's cold outside, it's still going to be kind of warm inside. So for that first beer, I think people are more likely to drink with the seasons. But after the body acclimates to the environment, I think they're more likely to say, you know what, I think I just want that beer or this beer, whether it's limited or whether it's new or it's been hyped on some sort of social media that they saw. So I think that, they're willing to experiment a little bit more outside of that first beer.
And then, I always am curious of this because, you're, like I said, you're in the industry, you live it, breathe it, you see it every day, you get to talk to folks every day with your job as, with the beer store and bar there. What's something that you hope to see in general in 2022 that may have not happened so far, whether it's a style that you want to see or just something else?
One thing that's kind of been trending in this direction for a while, I think it's going to continue to do so, is brewers keep looking deeper and deeper and deeper for inspiration. Okay, how can we create excitement and uniqueness in beer? And so I think that they're starting to fuse those worlds of culinary art and food and beer. Used to be, like the people like the beer judge certification program, they would say to make a successful fruit beer or spice beer, then you had to be able to taste the base beer first. And then whatever additional flavors you add to that should complement the beer but never overwhelm the beer. Well, I think brewers have kind of learned the customers don't think the way the BJCP does. Customers want to be beaten over top of the head with flavors. Mm-hmm. So now you're seeing inspiration come from all sorts of things. We have cheesecake flavored beer from Estonia, of all places. So even they've got in the craft beer world and they're making cheesecake beers, slushy beers when it comes to sours, fruitiness when it comes to IPAs. And we're not talking subtle flavors, we're talking big, bold flavors. Mm-hmm. So I enjoy seeing the experimentation. I enjoy seeing the cleverness that they come up with. I think the trends I've seen here lately, I think it's going to continue, especially since the mixed drink culture, the mixology culture continues to grow. Brewers say, okay, if that's what people want, then let's roll those flavors into beer as well. So whether it's an old-fashioned cocktail, let's use those flavors to inspire our beer, and that's what Founders did with the Highball Drifter recently. So I think we're going to see a lot more of those flavors. There's a mojito beer that Three Floyds has out right now. It tastes more like mint than mint tastes like mint, but it's there. So I think that brewers they're using those. Those worlds for inspiration, and they're not subtle about it. They're very bold. So it's really exciting, but it's got me a little bit cautious too.
Well, we'll just have to wait and see what 2022 has in store for us. Kevin, thank you as always.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Remember to check out Hops and Spirits on social media at Hops Spirits, all one word, on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also find Hops and Spirits on YouTube and at hopsspirits.com.
Joining us here on the Bar Conversations is a group that has been around at least they have been around themselves in the industry for a good while, and now they're together as the Nashvillains. We have Troy Johnson, Scott Lindsay, and Brett Boyette. Did I say all those right?
You did.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, how you doing, Jonathan?
I'm good. How are y'all? Now that we got this technology thing working.
Yeah.
We finally got this technology thing working.
Finally.
Now, I'm drinking, we were talking about, because it's Bar Conversations, we always wonder what everyone's drinking. I got a little Fry Ranch out of Nevada, a little nice, very nice bottle. Like I said, you got to watch that nice. the cap because it can hurt things. What's everyone else got tonight if they've got anything?
Winter Jack.
Ooh.
Jack Daniel Jack.
Yeah.
Heat it up into a cup. Pretty good.
I got a frosty mug of Yingling.
There you go. That takes me back home.
I've got a foam cup of Miller Lite out of Milwaukee.
What's funny is the vessel matters, and it's funny that your piece of shit beers is coming out of a
foam cup.
A foam cup.
He
Damn redneck.
I was gonna say he is from Kentucky. I mean, it's okay.
I've got the coolest coffee cup here. My son drew this picture. I got one of those Artsonia pictures he drew.
I love it.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's either you're a fancy drinker or you're a real drinker.
It just.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So fancy drinkers can't be real. So I guess I'm the fancy drinker now because I have a glass cup like a normal human
I was gonna
being.
say I have my logo.
I
on
don't
my
put
cup,
ice in my beer.
So we were joking beforehand. Are you guys just mainly beer drinkers, Troy and Scott, these days, or do you mix anything else? Brett, obviously you're enjoying a little bit of the spirit side.
Yeah, my wife makes me a beer drinker these days. She cut off my whiskey drinking. She says that I'm not sure what language we can use on here. But
Hey, we're talking about alcohol and music, so we're all good.
Yeah, she says I'm an asshole when I'm drinking liquor. So
Happy wife, happy life.
She says I'm not too friendly when I'm drinking liquor, so she cut me off. But my take on it is that I'm a genius, right?
Right.
And when I'm drinking brown liquor, I just gotta exude all my expertise on everything very loudly.
Right. I don't think it's
everyone should hear it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. My wife says the same thing about me, and I don't consider it being rude or an asshole. I'm just being gregarious.
Yeah.
I'm just, being boisterous.
Everyone needs to hear what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't get that.
I don't get that.
Hey, if I want somebody to talk to me like that, I'll go home.
Well, now you guys came together not that long ago, correct? How did you all come together as a group?
Well, it started with Brett. So why don't you set that off, Brett?
I actually started with my trip to California.
Oh, excuse me.
Go ahead,
Oh,
Scott.
step back.
Go ahead, Scott. Take the stage.
Yeah.
Soapbox is yours.
Preach, brother.
Testify.
Well, me and Troy write for the same publishing company, and our boss sent me to California to do a songwriters festival called Durango Songwriters Festival. And while out there, a mutual friend of mine and Brett's, he had a writing. His name's Tim Gates. He had a writing appointment with Brett, and he invited me to go with. He said he was writing with Brett for a movie that Brett was doing called Forever My Girl. And he invited me down, and I was like, sure, I'll go. So we went down and wrote with Brett, and the song didn't make the movie, but me and Brett really hit it off, and he got telling me about this band that he was wanting to do when he moved to Nashville. And he started playing me some demos of songs that he was doing for the movie, and said he wanted this guy to sing in his band called Nashvillains when he moved to Nashville. And I recognized the voice. I said, is that Troy Johnson singing? He said, yes, I got to have this guy in my band when I move to Nashville. I'm like, well, hell, I'll ask him right now. Me and Troy write for the same company. His office right across the hall.
And immediately you got to know.
Yeah.
Well, you got to maybe.
Yeah.
You gotta. Well, I don't know. Let's talk.
Yeah.
You think you're the only person that's asked me that?
Yes.
Oh, man, we were.
No, I'm sorry. I'm about 3 beers in, so I'm gonna get a little ornery, I think.
So each of you kind of knew one of another somehow, some way, and then was it a conversation about let's do this?
Well, I had actually never met Troy.
Yeah, Brett and I never met.
Yeah, I had been referred to Troy through, I think, another songwriter. I wish I could remember who. But when I was doing the film, I was using him for scratch vocals for all the artists that I was going to use on the soundtrack at Universal. So I ended up, working a lot with him, sending him stuff, and he actually ended up singing the backgrounds for a lot of the major acts as well. And I just loved his voice. So, but I never met him, and then Scott came out, and I met Scott in person, and we're, rest is history.
Yeah, well, I think the connections of all of it, made it come to fruition. It probably would have been different had Scott not have known, me personally and all that good stuff. So that certainly set things in motion.
Was that the selling point, Troy?
Yeah, Scott was the selling point for sure.
I was gonna say you seem to be getting along just fine right now.
Yeah. Well, as long as Brett stays in his own screen.
That's why I'm at a different location. No,
An undisclosed location.
I'm in a safe house.
Now, so Brett, you had the idea, and you already had the name picked out for when you were going to do it. Is that correct?
I did, and I don't know how I came up with it, but I wanted to do a dark country project, and I was just kind of running names around in my head, and Nashvillains was a great name. I was like, man, that's a great name. One thing was taking that. I started searching on the internet, and I couldn't find anybody who had taken it. So I was kind of blown away. So immediately trademarked it, and that was Scott and I talked about it, and Scott was like, yeah, I think it's a great name, great idea, and let's get Troy involved, and the rest is history.
I was going to say, Troy Scott, did you like being called, a dark country band? Like that's who he thought of. He brought you all in for this, I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we didn't really come up with the term dark country until after we were really kind of involved. We were
already writing songs.
Yeah,
so
we didn't know really what we had. The first thing we had to do was write a song. So we wrote a couple songs, and I mean, our goal was to write for film and TV. So we sort of set it up to where, the things we were writing were more cinematic and ethereal, and the more we wrote and the more songs that we kind of had under our belt, it sort of just it sort of came to.
It's like, we got a cool thing here. We're really dark.
Well, dramatic things. People gravitate to dramatic things, so it all kind of fell into place as we kept going.
Well, then I was going to say, being able to listen to the songs you all have put out, even listening a little bit to the new album, and we'll talk about that. That's coming down the pipeline. It's not all dark, I would say, or per se. I mean, maybe dramatic or a little more on the fun side. But how, you guys seem to be a fan of a variety of genres. How would you describe the music that you guys put out as the Nashvillains? Put you on the spot.
Well, I think the closest thing to it is dark country.
Cinematic.
We definitely think it's cinematic. Go ahead, Brett.
No. I mean, I was just chiming in words, adjectives. I mean, cinematic, I think, is definitely good. Emotive. Music. I think it's definitely an emotive band. I think that's one of the things we shoot for, is to capture the emotion of the song as well as telling the story. And we've kind of worked on more emotionally with less furniture, meaning less descriptive words as writers, but more.
Yeah, that was one thing that Scott and I had to sort of get used to, is when you write country music for the masses, or at least try to gear your song toward an artist. We like to write a lot of furniture, which means specific things that you can see as opposed to just telling you what's going on.
Tan legs on tailgate.
Yeah, right, exactly.
You can see that.
The rust on it, and the dripping of the water, and I remember there was this one song we were writing, and one of the lines we came up with, which kind of stuck for a while, was they took my gun, and Brett was like, that it's great, but it's too specific, because what if the character that is on the screen as the song is playing doesn't have a gun? and I was like, well, who the fuck cares? It's just a song. But he was right. I mean, you have to, you can't allow the I mean, if you're writing for that genre, or at least that purpose,
You got to keep everything generally specific.
right?
That's the term
Which is
we came up with.
yeah, which is what we've tried to do, and what that allows is for the listener to inject themselves into the song a little bit more than maybe otherwise.
Lots more open to interpretation.
Well, and then you got your debut album that's set to come out in February. Is that correct? You guys looking at February 2022? There we go.
February 11th, like Brett said.
Yeah. February 11th, 2022.
And what can folks expect on that? Because you guys have been putting out some songs. I mean, you even put out a Christmas song, "Christmas in a Bottle." But what can folks expect on that?
A little salsa. We got a little bit of everything in there.
No,
Well,
I think you should expect brilliance.
Yes.
Well, one of the things to expect that we did, which was not the norm for a country act. I actually don't know another country act that's done this until recently, actually. Concept album. So there's an actual arc to all the songs. They're part of it. Each song is part of the same story.
Okay.
So I was always a big fan of The Wall and Operation Mindcrime and Dark Side of the Moon and a lot of these concept albums when I was a kid. And we were sitting around talking. We were like, man, nobody's done a country concept album. Now Casey Musgraves has, but she came out with one I think in September. But
She must have heard us talking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a small town.
Yeah.
But that's something to expect, and I think it's really cool because of the songs. It's a really compelling story, and that I think everything just really works together, and there is a nice emotional arc to it. So.
Well, like I said, I got to listen to a little bit of it, and it's kind of almost like a little bit of blending of genres, kind of taking all of your different backgrounds in it, and then you have some guests on, at least I know of one song. I won't spoil it in case everyone wants to keep that a secret. But then you even have like a song like Bonita that I thought was just, when I'm listening to them, just maybe kind of out of order. Just I was like, whoa, well, that's different than anything else I heard, and so forth. So,
Yeah.
So like, I mean, is that even with the concept, you're still kind of weaving in some different things?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Bonita is one that I'm extremely proud of. I think that Brett did a great job producing, bringing in all the different elements, and that's one of my favorites. And it's just so epic the way that it lays out the trumpets and the cello and the strings, and that's what I love about this band and what we can do. We don't seem to be bound by what modern country is doing, and that's exciting.
We can go anywhere, and we will.
And we will.
I think that's a really good point, though. I think it's like one of the things that to expect out of this band and our album is creativity. And I think that one thing that we're definitely trying to do. We all have written contemporary country songs for major acts that are out there on the radio and stuff like that. And we've all done that, and we love those guys. Those guys are great, but it's kind of nice to do something. We kind of all discussed if we were going to do this, we were going to do something totally different. Something that would be a left of center sort of approach to country music. Something that we don't feel has been done, because otherwise, we feel like we just kind of get lost in the mix if we were doing what everyone else is doing. So
Right, but I also think that what you're describing happened organically as well.
It absolutely did.
totally.
Yeah.
We didn't know what we had until we sat down and wrote the first couple of songs. Once we got through with the second song and looked at what we
Looked
had,
at our body of work.
Yeah, looked at our body of work.
Two songs.
Two songs. Looked those two songs together. It's like, hey, we got something cool here.
I think
Yeah, I think that each song sort of
And I say that 'cause
points to the next.
The first song we wrote was "There to Catch Me."
Yeah.
And the second song we wrote was "Tumbling Down." Those two songs together, after we wrote them, I literally told my wife when I got home, I was like, we have something very freaking cool here. very cool.
Right, and
We're writing something out of the box.
And when
that is
Brett
cool.
started putting together and doing some pre-production in his studio, he said that he kept saying that people are coming in and poking their head through the door and saying, what is this? This is really, really good. This is interesting stuff. And that just snowballed and here we are today.
Yeah. We definitely like the stroking that we got from everybody else.
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, you kick it off very well with "Devil Don't Sleep," and that kind of I feel like sets a great tone for the whole
good.
album. That was, I think, maybe my favorite song, and like I said, I was able to listen to all of them, and it was great. You know, you guys have been in music for a long time. What got each of you into music? Oh, well, okay. Well, a few of you maybe not as long as others. So what got you guys into music?
Oh gosh, me personally, I've never done anything else.
Yeah.
Next,
Yeah.
Even at like 3 years old, you were banging on the
absolutely.
On the drums.
I mean, at that young of an age, I was singing and I wouldn't shut up. I mean, I remember getting teased at school about singing and I've never done anything else, and it'd be nice to have a hobby, but I don't have one of those.
Fishing. You should take up fishing.
I know. I don't have time.
Come fishing.
He's got you can just do a little more drinking than fishing. You know that works too. So
There you go. That's what I do.
Well, when I do go fishing, that's essentially what it is.
For me, it was probably my mom took me to see Michael Jackson in concert.
Ooh.
And that was such an amazing experience. And I remember it was at Mile High Stadium, and I swear, that it was Eddie Van Halen came out and played the solo.
I bet he did.
And I was like, that is so cool. And I was but I was like, that is so cool. And that kind of blew me away. So from then on, I was just, obsessed with the Beatles and Willie Nelson and the Beach Boys and I was a big Chris Ledoux fan growing up. I was more I grew up in Colorado in the rodeo world. But that was but all that kind of stuff really influenced me. Inspired me.
Well, I was raised around it. My dad's a singer-songwriter. He used to write with a guy named Tommy Collins. He wrote Roots of My Razor Run Deep for Merle Haggard and New Patches, Mel Tillis, among many, many others. And Merle Haggard's song, When Leonard Finally Came to California, Leonard,
Yeah.
that's Tommy.
Is that right?
Yeah, his real name is Leonard Sipes. Yeah, so he used to come up and go fishing with me and Dad, and he and Dad would write songs while he was up there. And I would write my little I love you, you love me kind of things. I'd bring them in there to Dad and Tommy, and they'd critique them, send me back to my room to fix what was wrong with it.
And then it became Barney.
He's
Yeah.
still trying. He's still trying to sell that title.
Yeah.
He's still trying to sell that title.
Yeah. So that, I mean, that's where I got the songwriting bug. It was just always around me. And, of course, Dad would come down. We'd hang out with Tommy and a guy named Johnny Russell. And back up home, also, I've got a cousin named Paul Mosley who's in the Thumb Picking Hall of Fame. Okay. You know, he does that Merle Travis, Chet Atkins style. And I was raised around that. And Bill Monroe's from my hometown also. So I was raised around grassers and all that. So I never knew any better. I thought everybody played music. Baseball and basketball and music.
Man, you got all those guys from your hometown. I have the South Park guys and Gary Hart and John Hinckley Jr.
Yeah.
I got nothing in my
Gary
hometown.
Hart. Wow, that's a blast from the past.
I got Clint Black and King's X.
Oh, wow.
You guys remember King's X?
King's X, I like that.
Oh, we also had Burke Breathitt. We had South Park guys and Burke Breathitt.
Oh, nice.
Bloom County, remember Bloom County? No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up in a little town in West Virginia. We had nothing.
I have no idea.
Nothing.
Nothing?
No.
Yeah.
So now, Troy, you've been writing songs for a little while. I'm not going to age you since apparently Scott wants to do that too.
Long enough to know better.
What has that been like for you to be kind of on the backside and you've been able to produce, write for a lot of different folks that have turned songs into some big hits?
Well, I mean, in the beginning, I didn't know anything, although thought I knew everything. I think it's been wonderful
So what's changed?
I think it's been wonderful. I'm going to just bypass that comment. I think it's been wonderful to grow up in this town, musically speaking. I'm very proud of the fact that I learned how to write a song in Nashville as opposed to New York or L.A. Not that there's anything wrong with what they do. It's just I really like lyric being the king.
Yeah.
I like the story being the king, and the music comes not necessarily second, but if you're not saying something real
it feeds
or
the story, the melody feeds the story.
yeah, if you're not saying something, and I'm not saying every song I write or that we write is saying something, but that's always the goal. The goal is not necessarily, hey, check out this beat. Mm-hmm. The goal is, what are we trying to say with this? And what I like about that is I like puzzles. I'm a puzzle guy, and I equate Nashville songwriting, or at least storytelling type songwriting, as a puzzle, because you come up with a hook, and everything that you write, in a Nashville sense, needs to point to that. You're not going to write a song about the moon and necessarily put a football in it. You have to retain a certain amount of. There's a box that you're sort of writing in.
Writing about the moon. A lot of the song needs to be at nighttime.
Anyway, I'm not sure if I'm making myself clear, but the act of songwriting in the Nashville way, I enjoy.
Everything leads to the title.
I enjoy more than just whatever ethereal thing you might want to say, which was, tough in the beginning when we were writing for this band. It was, we're not that we don't do that with this band, but it's a little different, and as we grow as a band, I think that we can bring a little bit more of the puzzle element in the song. But it's been nice to get away from that for a while, actually, if I'm being honest.
And then,
but anyway, growing up in Nashville musically, I wouldn't change it for the world.
Well, I was going to say, and you've had a lot of success. All of you have had a different amount of success, different ways. Brett, you've been producing for music for TV, film, recording artists. How is it doing all of those different things? Because that's not one that people may automatically think of when producing music, per se.
I mean, they're all different. They're all different approaches to songwriting. It's like Troy said. I mean, I started in Nashville, and lyric is king here, and that is absolutely the truth, for sure. But I also, I lived in New York as a writer for a long time. I lived in LA for a long time, scoring and working with a lot of pop artists and stuff like that. And I think this is one of the things that I bring to the band is musical hooks. Because that's, I think that's less of a normal thing out here to bring to writing.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we do jump off his musical hooks quite often. Yeah. He's got a bevy of hooks that he brings in, and that's a lot of times how we, start songs, and then we'll try to find a hook that one of us has.
We'll
came
try
up
to
with.
take what he brings to the table and then make it cool.
I knew you were going to go there. I knew you were going to go there.
No, but that's one of the things as a composer you're trained to do is you write themes, and you have to write themes through films that stick with the person. I mean, John Williams is a great example. I mean, you don't forget his themes.
John Williams is great. One of my favorites.
Danny Elfman, Michael Giacchino, a lot of the big composers, and they're just great at that, and they're great at bringing musical hooks. But I mean, lyrics are extremely important as well. It's all important. It's all but one big mix of having to gel with one another to be the perfect thing. It's a chemistry thing. So, but it's definitely it's a different approach writing for records usually, I would say, but for me, especially production-wise, I'm trying to bring some of those elements from the other things I've done into producing records, which I think is making the stuff a little different.
And then I guess I can ask Scott a question, unless you guys just want me to leave him out.
guess.
Just kidding. Says he's picking on all
Well,
of
he
you.
is just eye candy.
Yeah, I'm the eye candy in the band, man. I'm just here for picture taking purposes.
No, but I mean, Scott, you kind of were doing kind of a solo thing, or at least with your own group there early on, and then decided to kind of pull back and go kind of more the production and writing route, and have done a lot of different stuff there with a diverse group of people. How has that been for you, kind of taking that route now?
Well, it's been a lot more lucrative and much more successful. I did the artist thing for a while. I had a song out called "You Only Call Me When You're Drunk" that went top 40 for about 10 weeks. And after that, I really didn't know what I was going to do. That company I was with at the time, I thought was doing great, but I came home from a run out west, and they were boxing stuff up. And as Troy puts it, even my CDs.
No, it was a different interview, and I said, so they weren't just boxing your CDs up; they were boxing everything up.
They were boxing everything up. So I was home and wondering what I was going to do next, and I landed with this company and started writing, and I just landed with Nashvillains when they sent me out west. I really don't know how to explain it. I just didn't say no to any opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lesson, kids.
Yeah, I had an opportunity to send some songs to a guy named Frank Larry, and I sent him some songs, and he liked them. And he wanted me to send him more. I sent him more, and he signed me. And a couple months later, well, not a couple months, a couple days later, I was writing with Troy, and a couple months later, he signed me full on to the company, and here I am. So I don't know any other way to explain it other than just
God's hand.
Yeah,
God's
dumb
hand.
luck, God's hand, not saying no to any opportunity, and here we are.
I was gonna say,
So-
some things are meant to be, right? I mean,
And now me and Troy have written songs with and for Kevin Costner on Yellowstone, and and I've got cuts with Blackstone Cherry, big rock band, and I've got other stuff coming out later, not later this year, in 2022 with other bands, and now everything we got going on with Nashvillains. It just all led from one message I sent to a guy named Frank Larry.
I got a cut with Blackstone Cherry too.
Yeah, yours wasn't a single.
I do not have a
No, mine was not a single.
Mine was a single.
Okay, well, you're one up on me.
Yeah, I do not have a cut with Blackstone Cherry.
so everyone can one up someone, but unfortunately
That's
not
right.
Brett.
That's right.
But
Not for that.
Oh yeah, but Brett can one up us on a lot of things.
Yeah, Brett's got a
Yeah,
whole
we don't
movie.
want to. We don't
Brett's
want to
got a whole
go.
movie. What are
We
we
don't want to
talking
go there.
Yeah.
now, for all of you, because you've all written different things for different folks. I always wonder this because obviously that's your job. You're working kind of for someone else. It's what I do for my day job. I'm a PR writer, making someone else in a sense look good. Is there ever one that you're like a song that you guys were like, man, I wish I could have recorded that? Looking back, obviously 2020 hindsight or something like that. But were all of them you're like, nope, they were good to go, and that was what they were meant to be.
Do you mean our own songs, or do you mean
Songs we've written.
Yeah, like stuff that you guys have written, that for others and so forth, or worked with with others. Because I always know every now and then I feel like there's like one song that you're like, it got away, in a good way, but maybe you'd like to have back.
No, generally as a songwriter, that you cut what you write for the most part, and the ones that get away are the songs that stay on the shelf that nobody cuts.
Right.
I mean,
That are awesome.
every
not everything we write is awesome.
Say what?
Well, maybe Troy.
well, no, I mean every songwriter in town has. I mean, the amount of songs in this town that are hit songs that have never been cut
Never seen the light of day.
would astonish you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the You can't even. I mean, because I sing demos for a lot of people,
I've got
I
about,
hear
I've got
a
about
lot
50 of them myself.
Exactly. Everybody's
Yeah.
got a catalog that they're like, that's a freaking hit song,
Right.
and nobody's heard it. And I sing demos for people, and I sing on a lot of great songs, and I mean, they're never going to see the light of day just because of the volume of songs that get written every day in this town.
I have to say though, like I go back and listen a lot to songs that I wrote through the years.
You have to.
Yeah, even through college. And I'm like, that's a great song. And I'll bring something up I wrote in college. And I'm like, this is a great riff. And let's tweak it. Let's rewrite it.
Yeah, this is that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm saying if you don't, that's why at the publishing houses, that's why they have tape copy guys that go through the back catalog and pick out things that could be re-demoed, that could be moderned up and everything. Because I mean, there's just an amazing amount of hit songs in this town that nobody's ever heard and nobody ever will hear.
Well, there's always there's a time and a place for a song. I really believe that. And
Oh, sure.
It just sometimes takes years for that time to arrive for that song.
And now,
Yeah, I would say generally, unless you are in the camp of the artist that if you get an outside cut by an artist, typically that song's 5+ years old,
Yeah.
which is
around
crazy to me.
town. And they probably heard it before, years ago, before they come back and cut it.
Yeah, I was emailing with some people because somebody's trying to license a song of mine that's just independent artist, nothing huge, but I was trying to find the date of creation because I didn't know what publishing company it was with, and it's 2021, and I'm talking about a song that was written in 2014. That's a long time.
I mean, it's in elementary school
At
now.
least 7 years.
It's at least 7 years. Yeah. Thank you for doing the math for me.
I was gonna
I
say,
didn't wanna do
it's in
math.
kindergarten. It's almost working its way to being grown up. I mean,
Yeah.
now,
Right.
Now
So but that stuff happens all the time. I mean, one of the songs, "The House That Built Me," first of all, it took them 3 years to write.
Yeah.
And then it took them another, I think, 4 or 5 years for Miranda Lambert to even cut it. Anyway.
Well, I was gonna say, for y'all with writing, I mean, are you pulling, when you're in sessions or even just working on stuff yourself, are you always pulling from maybe past experiences or an idea, or what kind of goes through that process? Because I feel like it's always different for each folks, but I mean, a lot of times it is, it may be a sliver of a past experience, but it's at least something that's maybe happened in someone's life,
Yeah.
I would say yes. I mean, even if the song's not about exactly your past experience, you try to associate with that experience in some way, as an actor would, to conjure up the right emotion and lyrics and
Sure.
things like that. I think that you absolutely do that.
Yeah, that's absolutely. You want to say anything about that, Scott?
Nope.
Nope.
I was
think
gonna say,
we
is
covered
Scott
it.
allowed to talk? Scott, you're allowed to talk. You're good.
Yeah, well, I think every song you write is somewhat autobiographical in the sense that it has to come from somewhere real.
Well, I will say something, actually.
All right.
Yeah. You have to become a character when you write a song. Yeah, just like in acting, we have some actor friends, and we've had this discussion with them. They become the character that they're playing on screen. When we're writing a song, we have to do the same. So we become that character, and we just take the truth and lie about it. That's what we do, basically.
So you're basically, it's a fishing story that gets really good.
That's
Yeah,
right.
right,
It gets
yeah.
bigger as it goes along.
Oh yeah, if it ain't dramatic, it ain't gonna go nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, if you're writing a love song, the example is like I have to think about, in that situation, if it's a breakup song or whatever, being in that situation and who I was in that situation with and how I felt about it in that situation.
And I loved you more than anybody else has ever loved anyone else in the whole world ever. That's what we got to express.
Right, and you had to have had experienced that to
That's right.
write that.
That's right.
Now, you guys are working on stuff for the Nashvillains, but I'm sure you're still working with other folks. How do you guys balance all that? Because I feel like that's a lot going on at once in one's life.
We need secretaries.
No joke.
Got to have a good calendar and make sure you're at the right place at the right time.
I mean, I spent the whole weekend writing hip hop with a hip hop artist from LA. So kind of like, we're all over the board right now. We're chameleons. We're writers. That's what you have to do, and it's more about being a writer is having a good sense of melody and a good sense of lyric. I think most writers that are good writers can jump genres. Some are really good at one genre, but I think a lot of writers jump genres and have a lot of influence, especially nowadays, in different genres.
Yeah. Well, deadlines help when you got a lot on your plate and you got a lot to do. It's good to have a deadline.
I understand that in my day job.
Or when you got bosses breathing down your neck,
Also understand that in my day job. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some of the best songs I've written have been when the publisher said, "You got to finish this by such and such date because we're going into the studio."
That's right.
I would say definitely direction helps, like writing directly for a script for an exact scene or a specific artist. Those are all things that are to me, much more enjoyable, much more helpful than just writing a song. Yeah. I don't think, for the most part, most of us really just do that anymore. We don't really just write to write. We usually are writing with an artist, with a producer, for a label, for a movie. Specifically.
Well, that's because we're in the business. That's because we're in the business. We're always looking, what can I write, and write what I want, and also make money. That's the nature of the beast.
We used to, right? I'm sure all three of us did. I would write all week. Whatever, and write with tons of...
Oh, yeah, I used to write 4 or 5 times a week, and that's why, what we were talking about earlier, that's why I've got, 50 hit songs sitting on the shelf,
Now, you guys have been doing this, like I said, just a few years, all young, vibrant, everything's still a whole life ahead of y'all. Did you ever expect this, though, to be your life? I mean, obviously, I think all of you wanted it to be, it sounds like, but wanting and then it happening, I feel like, are two different things. And then also, if you weren't doing this, what would you be doing?
You want to start that, Troy?
Yeah, sure, I can start it. Life, goodness gracious. When I was younger, and anybody can say this. When you're older and you can look back on what you did when you were younger, you don't appreciate anything. And I surely wish that I would have appreciated where I was when I was younger. But I'm thankful now that I'm still in it. I mean, the music business has changed in such a degree that it's really tough to stay in it. The income streams have adjusted and
adjusted is a loose term.
Yeah, but I mean, our life is probably not much different than anybody else's. This is a job to us, so we come and do our job, and then we go home to our families. I am thankful that I'm not digging a ditch, but it's still work.
Yeah.
Now, what would you be doing if you weren't doing this, though? Any backup options ever?
I honestly have no idea. Like I said, I don't even have any hobbies. I'd love to do something with my hands. If I had to do something, it'd have to be outdoors. I mean, I could build a house. I could do construction. I wouldn't mind doing construction at all.
Yeah. Maybe go fishing.
Wait till you do it for a while.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was the last, when I used to dig a ditch for construction. And yeah, that sucks. But I will say that the most peaceful sleep I've ever had was after a day of digging a ditch.
Yeah.
Brett, Scott, who wants to go next?
Go ahead, Scott.
Oh. Go ahead, Scott.
I always jump in, so I just let you go.
What would I be doing if I weren't doing this? Male stripper?
You are the eye
I was
candy.
gonna say he is
mean,
the
have
eye
you-
candy. I mean, that's
Have
he
you
just.
seen me? No.
Yeah, I've seen you. I got change over there.
I've got to go flush my brain out after that one.
I mean, should we just go to Brett now? I mean, Scott. I mean,
Well,
but before Brett, but I mean,
Well, seriously, in all seriousness, I'd probably be a school teacher. That's what my education was in. I taught school for 9 years before any of the music started taking off for me. I taught school in Metro Nashville. Hated it, hated it. Some of the kids were great. Some weren't. I'm just gonna be honest. Some weren't. Some of the parents were great. Some weren't. I'm glad I am where I am right now. But if I weren't doing this, I'd probably be school teaching somewhere not in Metro Nashville.
Well, especially when you call it school teaching.
School teaching.
that's his Kentucky background.
If they can't spell teaching right, they don't need to pass the next grade.
And Brett, did you ever see yourself doing all this crazy stuff? I mean, writing for TV, music, even hip hop. I mean, did you ever see that?
No, I mean, I always thought I always thought I was going to be doing music at some level. I mean, at first I was like competing in piano and that kind of stuff. But if I wasn't doing this, I think, like I studied forensic archaeology in college, which is kind of crazy, I know.
It means he can dig stuff up.
He can dig a ditch.
Yeah,
He can dig a ditch
and tell you what's in it. That I think I would do that. I'd be doing some sort of business. I would definitely be. I'm pretty business minded, and I would probably be starting a business. I've always felt like I've been an entrepreneur. I had my own company when I was in high school of making T-shirts. I had a T-shirt company. I used to paint T-shirts for people, airbrush. I thought.
Yeah, Brett's a pretty good artist. He's a good visual artist. He could probably do that. His brother does that.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. At one point I was going to join the military. I took the ASVAB test.
I did that too.
Yeah, I did pretty well on that. I was going to be a helicopter pilot. In medical school, I was going to take the LSAT. At one point, I still might take the LSAT. And so I don't know. I mean, those are all possibilities. But for a long time, it was going to be like, I think that's my mic, by the way, is doing that. If you guys can hear that. For a while, it was going to be like plastic surgery. I was really interested in that. So.
Did you say plastic surgery?
Oh, yeah. I used to watch surgeries all the time and study it.
Oh, goodness. Well, there was a time in college when I thought I was going to be an economist. Till I realized how much math was
For
involved.
some reason, that's funny as hell.
Yeah. I like the theory of economics, but I didn't like the nuts and bolts of it.
To songwriter.
Yeah.
Well, it worked out. It was a good call. I mean, I'll say this. I still think one day I'll hopefully own my own business. Who knows? But I took an economic class with a guy that looked like Santa Claus. I'm not going to lie. And after that one class, I changed my major very quickly because I was like, this is not a good idea. This is boring. I'm going to fall asleep. And, so, no, I get that. But I also love, like, Brett I feel like, we were joking earlier about, who could one-up one other. He's just dropping all these different things that he's done and could do. And
the drinking thing, can I take a whiz?
Yes.
Be right back.
Welcome to the Nashvillains.
So
yeah, that's usually me.
Yeah, I have to say that, something like my mom said to me, which is true, is, like God chooses your path for you. And maybe not be the path that you want, but that's the path you're chosen for. You know what I mean? That's chosen for you. So I think that's true in a lot of cases.
Yeah, and I think that when it comes to being a Christian, you got to trust that path.
Yeah.
That's the hard part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, hey, I get that. I switched jobs right before the pandemic. Very thankful for that, and I'll never forget just how things sometimes work out. I wasn't gonna go. I was gonna go to my last question, but because we're one short, I'll ask another one. You guys like to have fun, though. I mean, it so seems, if you can't tell from this whole interview, you guys get along pretty well. I think it's all getting along very well. I mean, you guys have a happy hour on Tuesdays on some of your social media, things like that. I mean, how much fun do you guys just like to have together and just share with people and so forth?
Oh, we like that a lot. The most fun we have is razzing each other.
Yeah.
That's the most fun.
Never would have got that from this interview. Never.
The broke down sessions have been a lot of damn fun. I mean,
thank you guys.
I didn't know how much fun interviewing people would be, but getting together with different artists and friends we've known for years, and actually learning a lot of things about them we didn't know, has been a blast.
Yeah, I think we have a good time. I mean, for sure, just hanging out, and we get together once in a while with our wives and stuff, and my girlfriend and their wives, and we we go and hang out, and our kids have gotten together, and it's great.
So you guys do like hanging out with each other, right?
Yeah, we actually kind of like each other for now. Yeah.
But I mean, this has been a ton of fun, and I can just tell that you guys work well together. You have fun. You're kind of like my friends. If we're not making fun of each other or razzing each other, something's wrong. I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, that's the congregation of guys. I mean, that's just the way it goes when you're with around your buddies.
So now that Scott has returned, I will ask my last question. So, in addition to the new album, what can folks expect from the Nashvillains in 2022?
Is that a Brett question?
I think that might be a Brett question. He's the businessman.
I mean, you guys can say whatever you want, and then Brett just has to, figure it out.
I'll just say.
Well, it doesn't matter what we say, Brett. Brett's going to tell us, no, that's not happening. This is happening.
No, I think one of the things that we're all looking forward to is touring. So that's something we all want to do. I think once our album is out and we'll be out there to promote it, we're all looking forward to getting on the road and meeting the fans in person. I think that's a really important part of being a musician, is to be in front of a live crowd. It's great to do these online things that we've done once in a while and stuff, but it's really great to be out there talking to them in person and hearing them sing back your lyrics that you've written and worked so hard on, and that kind
Hopefully they'll do that.
Yeah.
They will. They've already done it every place to play. So
yeah. So I think that's a big part. Releasing more videos, just
the biggest thing for me is the touring. I'm ready to get out there.
And I think, and while as a band member, what we have to be doing also is thinking about our next project, our next album, while we're promoting this album. That's just kind of how you have to keep doing. You have to keep the ball rolling. So in the meantime, it takes a long time to write an album. Because not every song you write makes the album. So you've got to kind of decide if we're
kind of like not every song you write makes a movie, right?
Oh my goodness.
Kind of like that, right?
You're never going to get past that, are you?
Never getting over it.
I had no control of it. I had a little bit of control.
I was going to say, I can feel the love in the chat right now. So, but no, you guys have a new album coming out in February 11th, I believe. Tumbling Down will come out. It's a great album. I got to listen to it. It's awesome. Everyone should check it out. And until then, check them out because they've released a lot of great stuff as well. You can go to the NashVillainsBand.com to keep up with them. Find them on social media as well. Brett, Troy, Scott, this has been a blast. Thank you all for doing this.
Hey,
Thank you, Jonathan. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah,
Thank you, Jonathan.
It's been a blast, buddy. Thank you.
Kentucky boy. Hey, we'll see you, man.